It's time for another component gripe, and I know I'm not alone on this one. These cards face only one direction here, but on the other side, they face both directions and are often placed in different ways. So when you discard them, you put them, whichever what goes, and then they end up all over here, and it's just a total OCD nightmare. I have to rearrange all the cards so they're all facing the right direction. Now, it may actually serve some purpose, which is to say, by indicating the facing, by the facing being apparent here on the board when you have things tucked away as invisible or whatever, it may have some effect that I'm not seeing. Maybe even just a mnemonic one in terms of, being able to remember how you placed your cards. I'm not sure, but in terms of just coping with the shuffling the decks, it's like, I have to rearrange all the cards every time. And I know enough of us in the hobby are really, really OCD about stuff that something like this will just flip us out. And it's funny because I've got these are bugging me too, because I've got these arranged so that I can, handle what I want to play out of my hand. And I'm kind of maybe telegraphing something. If there's any value to it like this, I'm telegraphing something to everyone else by having cards arranged in different positions. At the very least, it means some of my cards I've allocated to, I kind of want to do this. And that's, chances are with that, with me at least, that means they're industry, they're tech cards that I've got, I want to work on this one, or I've got these paired together and I may play them, but right now I don't need to. It was an interesting series of plays. The factory production, Germans went forward 1. Russians went forward 2, and their second one was kind of expensive. They threw out a coup and a couple of interesting espionage cards, which you got to kind of question that because they're not getting anything out of it. Their population's too low, and when I look at their cards, Greece doesn't add population. Afghanistan doesn't add population. The Low Countries do, and they were kind of hoping to catch up with their population there, but the Allies played Low Countries against them, denying them that. The Allies also had the opportunity to knock them out of Sweden. One biggie, the Allies have gotten the United States into the action, so now they've got a lot more population and resources available, which means they could build up their industry, but they spent their industrial cards on another hidden tech in this case. A couple of players have 2 hidden techs now, which makes the industrial espionage useless if nobody's going to reveal their tech, and the tech becomes revealed during war, but there's no reason to reveal it before then, except, I don't know if I want to have my hand, size decreased by so much. So there was some question. I think the Allied, precision bombing, they were kind of thinking, well, maybe we could reveal that because we don't think anybody else is that interested in it. And actually, I don't think I talked about point values. You can see both the Axis and the USSR built up a bunch of military value. The Axis actually building another cadre. I don't remember where that was. Oh, that's fortification down here in Lvov. The Allies kind of falling behind in terms of military production, and everybody sticking at 4 and 4, kind of a balanced approach between the action and the industrialization. Well, you can see that didn't work. The Allies, the Western Allies, really wanted to improve their industry, but they got a tech that they said, we kind of want to bank this. Well, we got it. So, in terms of canceling things out, we did have some events played here. Fear and Loathing. Isolationism helped to actually reduce the German standing in the USA, which is a little weird. And then the Brits are moving into Spain. I don't know. There's a number of places where things are happening. Notably, the Germans are going to be adding, more population in Turkey, it looks like. So we didn't really need to add. We had an opportunity to add Czechoslovakia to our pool, but not as a possession, but as a part of their economic sphere. So now we look for cancel outs, and Low Countries cancels out Low Countries. And I think that's... Oh, Bulgaria cancels out Bulgaria. So the Western Allies were nice about this. Instead of hitting Sweden, which they could have done, not with this card, they instead protected the Russian position in Bulgaria, which is kind of cool of them, I guess. And now here in Spain, what do we have? That looks like it's going to be 2 population, and that's it. We got tons of population now. And this card, the Germans gain Turkey, which is 1 population and 1 resource, which we could really use. You can drop that down. And over here, the Russians dropped themselves twice in Greece. That's just a resource. We don't need that. But and then once in Afghanistan, which is a nothing. But this is an actual territory. It's not just a place to hold cards. And it's a potential route into Delhi. And that's why I keep going into there, right? It's not making the Brits happy at all. And maybe part of why they keep thinking about doing dicky things. They certainly did not want Russians pulling their population out of the Low Countries. We just don't like that. And also, you know, we're not too thrilled with Sweden, but the problem with taking the Russians out of Sweden is, what if Germany gets Sweden on their side or leaning towards them? It's better leaning a little towards the Soviets than it is a little towards the Germans. So yeah, we'll leave it there for now. I'm playing without a hell of a lot of discussion and negotiation going on. But there's probably some implied. It looks to me like there's an anti-Axis swing to things overall, even if there's a lot of competition going on at this point. Does anybody have any military coming forward? I don't know. And everybody passed, and then we got around to the Germans, and they said, you know, we got a card we want to play. And so the Russians said, we can't take a chance of being blitzed this turn. We're playing a card as well. And we reveal the cards. The Western Allies do not play one. We have H6. So that's going to give us 6 command points to play with. And the Russians have C4. Ugh. We didn't want this. Let's play the other one. N4. We want to play late in the turn if we can to react to any German action. Okay, H comes before N, so the Germans have to go first. I have 6. I'm going to violate the neutrality of Denmark. This was my plan. Do I need to do this? Well, I'm gathering up resources, and this will give me a shot into Sweden, which I kind of want to take. Sounds good to me. Denmark's only a boink, so it's only 1 card for each country. And they can use them immediately, you know, in the next command phase. Now I have 6 actions, but there's a Danish fort in play. All right. 6 actions coming in. 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, well, we got a battle there. Don't seem to... I didn't leave the battle marker lying around where it doesn't belong. So now we've got 2 3s and a 1. Fort has first fire on us. Or has earlier fire. It needs a 4. Note that my plane couldn't go far enough. I haven't launched anything in terms of technologies, my technology is actually a naval one, which is kind of weird because it doesn't look like I'm moving against the Western Allies, but I expect they're going to come in against me. All right, so that was a hit. And now from the infantry, I got 3 on the first. These need 3s. They're going to succeed almost certainly. Yeah, there goes the fort. We have taken Denmark. And that's a resource for us. And resources are kind of what we need here. All right, well, now that we own it, we pop these up. We played our card. And that means Russia was like, well, that ain't quite what I expected. But with 4 actions, I probably want to move some of my stuff. Wow, I got a fort in Moscow. What the hell? Armor has a 3 movement point allowance. I've got bonus armor. I can move this, and I can say I'm strategic moving because I'm not going into battle or anything. And likewise, these guys can move 2. I can double that movement. 1, 2, 3. Kind of don't want to lose this, but 4. All right. And that's again a strategic movement. Oh, wait. I don't have that kind of movement allowance. Hold on. I moved 3 with my armor. That means I can only move 1 with something else. Yeah. I don't know what else I moved. I'll move here. That keeps me in a balanced enough position. Not too many pieces down there in the south. Okay. So that is my movement up. Everything's in supply. Nobody's got any problems. We go to the summer, and the Germans have to decide. Well, everybody's got to decide again, and the Russians are going to pass again because we're not at war. And we're going to see. I believe the Germans have enough. They're going to be punching into Sweden next. And the Russians aren't tricked. They've got such a strong line there. If the Germans attack... See, this is the one thing. Do I want to attack? Well, the Germans have already played a card. And if I declare war, I have to go first, maybe. This would be a summer offensive. I've got a Q. I might be able to do quite a bit of damage here. Let's do it. Okay. As we don't think we can win the economic war, and we're really worried about the Germans. Okay, so the Germans reveal they've got a C6. I've got Q9. Somewhere I've got this. I'll put this here. Well, the Germans, once again, hey, we're pretty sure the Russians aren't going to attack. We're going to declare violation of Sweden's neutrality. Sweden has 2, so each country gets 2 cards. Hey, we're helping everybody, even if they're military. And now we're going to launch our attack. We have 6 movement. 1, 2. This is just normal land movement across the straits. 3, 4. I got 2 left. What do I want to do with the additional 2? Am I worried about the potential of a Russian attack? You know, how important is Königsberg? It's a population center. Huh. That strengthens us a little bit. Okay. Now we get to launch our attacks. The Swedish fort goes first. It's 2 dice. Now if I take this, there's no city or anything here. This is the capital. I think that just falls, but I'd have to check. It's possible that stays open, and I'd have to spend another movement to get in there. I couldn't take it with my Air Force, because it can only raid or something like that. Okay. So here's the fort, and the fort is swinging at 4s against ground units. They actually have to go against ground units. And I get 1 hit. That takes another German infantry. Now I think the air goes next in the order. And air is not going to be good. It needs 1s, I believe. But I get a hit. That's pretty cool. And now 2 ground units needing 3s probably. Ooh! Well, looks like we're going to have to recount some things. Guess I should roll in a box, huh? Okay, we took the Swedes out. This is gone. It would be gone no matter what, because the neutrality's been violated. That was a resource and a population, if I'm going in the right direction. And we just took the territory, but I don't know if we have this yet. But Germany also gets a resource and a population, whatever that number is. I got to back away, try to figure out what my numbers should be, and then we figure out what Russia's going to do. They played a card with the full intention of going in on Germany. I think they're going to do it. The question is, did they violate the Baltic states in the way in? What else did they do? La, la, la. Because if they don't violate the Baltic states, they leave it open for the Germans to come through, right? I fear I may have been miscounting German population. Because now when I count, I'm at 1, 2... Oh, this was the extra one. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more. Yeah, I'm fine. 7 population, that puts me at 18. Okay. That looks okay. Let me recount. 1, 2, I forgot there's 2 for Turkey. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't see another new population gain. This is where the game gets kind of difficult to play for me, is the counting involved. I don't know if I got this though. I gotta check that. So the Soviets are gonna start the general war here. And that does a couple of things. First thing it does is I am no longer at peace with the Axis. I am now at war with them. And I lose a victory point. If they declared war on me, the cost of my factories would drop significantly. So that's going to be a problem. On their side, the cost of their factories does not decrease quite so significantly. This chit just goes away. I'll put it up here along with the other unused stuff, and that means now my factories only cost 4 each time I industrialize. So that's pretty cool, but I want to attack. All right. I think I cheated. The coast between here and here only allowed 1 ground unit to cross. I'm going to leave it alone, but yeah, that's a cheat, because that's what I'm looking at right here. Oops. Okay. So, we want to go in to Finland. We can send, I think it's 2 per forest. That's 2 of my movement. I have 9 movement here. I'm going to go into Vilna. 2 more movement. Normal pathways, I'm allowed 3 guys through. Another move. Let's keep looking here. Do I want to push this way? Nah. I'll push my armor in. It shoots before the infantry, so that's kind of cool. And now I've still got 3 more moves with which I'm upgrading my defenses here in Odessa. All right. So now I choose my battles one at a time. Now, in each of these cases, I've invaded. So I'm marked like this. And I must actually, I think they stay face up. Or they stay sideways. Because these are battles that I'm forced to have, but I just started, so I am actually forced, so it's a different positioning than it would normally be. All right, let's do Finland first. Okay. And that's a 2-point fort against 3 of these. Let me turn this way. It's not... Now, let me go over here and turn them all. Okay. So I sent 3 infantry in against a 2-point fort. The fort gets first fire because of the order of things. If there was infantry there, the surprise attack would have given the Russians an advantage. Okay, the fort hits twice, which means boom, and we lose a unit. Losing a unit isn't anything special, and now I get to shoot back at the fort. I miss. The fort's here. I'll turn this here towards the Russians with its 1 towards them. Okay. I can get rid of that. Remember, there's only 1 round of combat. All right. Here, those infantry do not get to shoot before the tank gets to shoot. The tank gets 2 dice at a 2, but I know I have an armored ability. Now, my armored ability is tanks have first fire. It doesn't really help me to show that unless I'm facing enemy tanks. And I have that anyway with my surprise motion. So I'll attack with my tanks, and I need 2s with them. They're not very good at shooting. I get 1 hit. It's got to be against the biggest German unit. Now, because I declared war, I have a surprise attack. You don't get that against the miners. And I have 2 sets of 3 looking for 3s. I get 1 hit with 1 of them. I don't have to aim at specific units. I just have to aim at classes of units. And I get 2 more hits. I have defeated the Germans here and taken control of Wilna from them. Now, Wilna is not worth anything. It's got a muster value, but that doesn't mean much. So, I didn't really do any harm to them, but I did take the space. I don't know that it's really worth marking. It's indicated that I occupy it and own it, essentially. Okay. So that would be the summer turn. We go to blockade. Now, nobody's got any navies out doing anything, so we're not worried about that. And everybody's got kind of contiguous land stuff, except here's a problem. How do I get out of here? Well, I do make it through. Turkey, I make it through as well. Even though they're somewhat aligned with the Germans, they're not going to blockade stuff against me. So pretty much supplies are getting through from even Hungary there, which is sort of the hardest place for me to go from. So I don't have to change any values. What I do have to do, though, is I have to select whether anybody has a fall card they want to play. and the Russians have to choose first. So I'm in a kind of interesting position here with the Soviets. I thought I had a fall command, but I don't. I had spring and summers. Maybe I shouldn't have started a war. Maybe. Maybe we should turn our pieces up in Sweden. I have the right. So if I was, and I am, in a combat, I could continue that combat. On the other hand, I may want to move pieces still. And I have an emergency command of 2 that I could play, which could allow me to drive into Warsaw. Oh, that looks yummy. And possibly into Königsberg as well. Or move a couple of pieces into Warsaw or a couple into Königsberg. Especially if I've got a late letter card, I may want to play it. Let's play this one. That's a valuable card. See, what I don't really like the idea of is getting cut off in Warsaw. That doesn't sound pleasant at all. Or Königsberg, for that matter. I think I'm not going to play a card, actually. And by passing, well, that brings the choice next to the Allies. And I want to think about whether they want to declare war. They do not. They don't have a force buildup enough. So now we go to the Germans. And do the Germans have an autumn command? They do. It's an early card. And I'm not sure I really want to play it. But I think I will. So I'm playing a card. And now the Russians have the option to back up their choice and play a card still. Well, here's my problem. I'm fairly open to an attack from the north, and maybe not all that solid if the Germans are going to be violating the Baltic states to an attack coming through there. On my defense, though, there's a fair amount of German units back here that they probably want to throw into the front. Maybe not. Those guys are, keeping a watch on the west as well. So I think I'm going to still pass on playing a card. That puts me over to the Germans having the only turn, which makes that A card not at all bad. It would normally be. And what do I like with the Germans? Well, not terribly interested in retaking that piece of territory that I lost, but I am pretty interested in trying to hold Warsaw. By the way, this is controlled. I took the capital. I would like to... This is tough. I would like to hold Finland. So I think what I'm going to do is 1, 2, fly some planes into Finland. 3, this is a river. 4, I have 2 more moves available to me. 5, 6. I didn't overmove anything. Now, I didn't attack any new areas, but I am allowed to start a combat there, which, given that I know what the Russians have there, and I have first strike with planes. Naval radar is not going to help me, so I won't reveal it, and the atomic research I've done isn't going to help me. Yeah, I'm gonna attack. Well, forts still actually get first fire, even on offensive operations. So we'll take our schwack, and that's a 1-point Russian there. And boom, we knock the Russians out. And this is no longer even contested anymore. Which is fine. I wasn't losing anything for it being contested, but so now I've positioned myself a little better. The Russians have the right to spend a card to move reinforcements in Russia during the winter turn. They don't really see too much reason for that. Important factor though, these are now flipped over. And somewhere in there, after the declaration of war, yeah, we had to check blockades. The effective values are fine for everyone. The Germans are tracing their supply, or the Axis as a whole is tracing their supply. The Central Med is not, contested or anything, so I've got no problems there for that. I could have played around with my Italians a little bit. Not sure in what way I would want to. But right now, I'm set up in a position to threaten both Leningrad and Moscow, which looks pretty good for me. And that is going to push us into 1940. And I got some reshuffling and stuff to do. Okay, so as we enter 1940, the Allies are going to get another peace dividend, but they're only at 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 victory points. Which means we're not really very close to being able to win. We're not going to be able to get a victory next turn. We can probably count on the Russians holding one of Leningrad and Moscow fairly easily here. But we're very worried at this point. We didn't launch an attack in the fall. We don't have many troops. But we're very, very worried that the Germans are going to be able to win the automatic victory over there. Now, oh, by the way, I found, here's where the little chart that I keep looking up happens to be. Make sure. Yeah, I don't have much. Oh, the Germans obviously haven't gained points. They've actually fallen behind because they're down in production to their resource level. And they probably are going to need to focus on attacking Russia at this point. So my resource level is 15. I've collected all my peace dividends, which puts me up to 17, and that's it. It really is. I'm not going to get any more points except through conquering stuff and improving my production through more resources. Well, through the normal victory. And I'm probably not going to be able to get the atomic bomb victory either. The question is, if the Allies think that the Russians can hold on indefinitely, we never enter the war, and we force the Germans to declare war on us in order to lower our factory costs, lower their own victory points and such not. But at the very least, we're going to have to build up an army, and that's going to slow down, our progress a little bit. Although, with a 15 resources, we can get pretty close to the victory. Is 25? I think it's 25 to win the game. Yeah. But we can get a fair way towards that victory. We're at 16 right now, but there's a lot of industry we can add there, another 5 points easily, which puts us very, very close. Plus, we'll be pulling peace dividends each turn. So if we think the Russians can hold out, we definitely don't want to go to war. But if we have any suspicion that they can't, if we're at all thinking it's a risk, we have got to throw our weight in, and we got to throw it in early enough, because it's not like it matters, hey, we capture the Ruhr. If Moscow and Leningrad fall before we take Berlin, it's over. We lose. Or the Germans win, however you want to take it. But, clearly what that represents, it's so hard to tell. A lot of the decisions in this game are made from very much the gameplay side rather than what is it representing, I think. I do want to look into a little bit, hey, is the history in this just completely bogus, right? Is it just, is there any background to it? So in some cases, I've seen some cards that have maybe Turkey and Greece on them. And you'd be saying, well, you have the choice to ally with one or the other, and they're kind of aligned against each other. But I think you could make that kind of thinking and still say, there just really isn't much history in this at all, or much accuracy, much believable. It's not even the history, it's the believability of the situation. But that's okay. Well, moving through the 1940 production phase, we can see, wow, everybody's beginning to build military units now. And really wearing off. The Russians not even doing any investment anymore. They don't need it. Industry is not their low point. They need to protect the population and try to grow that. And, they're not going to be dallying in Persia and Afghanistan right now. They've built up their forces as much as they can, more or less, to defend the perimeter that they've got built up. There's weak spots, for example, the Baltic states and Murmansk up here, that are going to be potential trouble. For the Axis, some buildup of defenses in Germany, in case the Allies are more prepared than we think they are, and in Italy, but mostly built to try to punch against the Russians. And we'll see. I really don't know if we're going to be able to move forward and take both Leningrad and Moscow. And if we can't take them or put a credible threat in place, the Western Allies are just going to kind of run away with the game. Okay, so for the government phase here, people are building industry for the most part. The Germans thought about it but decided instead to reveal their final hidden research, which is air defense radar. That opens it up to everyone else in terms of using industrial espionage on it. We used an intimidation. Who did this? The Russians used this against Turkey and pulled Turkey out of the German orbit. The Germans actually have some political control, but nothing that's going to help them much. The one that I might want to use is an intimidation myself, but that's my spring movement. I've got my 3 movement commands, spring, summer, and fall, ready to play, and I can't afford to give up the tactical or strategic flexibility on the field in exchange for an economic ability. The Allies, on the other hand, had a lot of action cards, and they kept matches, I think, for their 3 types, but they also have played in such a way as to cancel out a German Czech initiative, and they put one in Yugoslavia, which doesn't help me much, but it does get me a resource. And then another one in Norway, which Germany couldn't cancel without getting rid of a card again, which hurts a German resource, and the German resources are their real blocking point here. So by taking diplomatic initiatives, we're weakening the Axis significantly here, cutting off supplies that were otherwise or resources that were available, and that is the important blockage. With Yugoslavia, the idea was, hey, they might play in Yugoslavia, and we had an extra card to play, so we had to burn it. It's going to put us over to the spring, and unfortunately, well, or maybe not that unfortunately, the Allies have the first card that they have to play. They would rather not declare war until something looks like it's going to break on the Russian side. So we're going to hold off in terms of playing a spring card, no matter what happens pretty much here. I think we may have one. Yeah. But we didn't really want to play it. And well, it's a reserve, and that's fine. It'll be available next turn. So that forces the Russians up. They are absolutely going to play a card, as are the Germans. So I guess we reveal our cards. The Germans have a P4. The Russians a C4. Yep. Let's see if I can find this thing. So many counters on the same track. It's kind of tough. Okay. So It looks like the Russians have to go first. I don't have a lot of points here. I'd love to take Lvov because that doesn't expand our front at all. On the other hand, do I need to defend Murmansk? Well, I don't have much that can do it. So, okay. One. Let me get a little battle marker here. What are our tanks? They're fast, right? Their first fire. Since we're attacking, we're going to send armor in. 2, 3. Don't like opening this up because of the Baltic. So 4. All right. Over here we have to attack. In we go. And what are we facing? It's a lot. Oh boy. All right. So, first fire is the fort, and the Germans have 2. So the Russians are facing this way, the Germans this way. That's kind of important. So I have 2 dice, and, well, we're going after land units, which we're very good at. We get 2 hits. The first one has to be off the armor. And given the situation, we'll take the second one off the armor as well, because it doesn't have as good a firepower. The next attack is that big air unit, which again is going after ground. Now it's not as good at ground, but I'm in friendly territory. If I was fighting air units, I would get double the dice, I think, trying to hit at 3s. I think that's what that 2A3 means. Right? I'm not sure. I got 1, 2. Oh, awesome planes. 2 hits on the Ruskies. And we're knocking units out. And now the Russians, all they have left is their 1 land unit. I am best against ground units, so I'll shoot that. I could withdraw instead. That might be my best move. Oh, did I cheat this? Jesus. I can't. I don't think I did. I think that's what I should have. So I've got 2 ground units. Rather than face that fort, I'm going to pull back like this. Lvov. Jeez. I think we'll pull back that way. All right. So the Russian turn was not a good one. And now comes the German turn. And we only have 4. I don't know. Thinking, Murmansk is getting me towards Moscow and opening up a big threat. But I got a lot of Russians here. The unfortunate thing is, it's going to cost me to move to move an air unit 2 areas as much as it does to move a ground unit or whatever. There's a lot of that where it's like, how realistic is that? Well, again, this is more game than anything else, I think. 1, 2. 3. I can't afford this. It's 1. I think. Two, three, four. Let me get battle markers here and here. These must be done. Let's do the light one first. Okay, I'm going to turn this so that it's facing the same way as the Germans. It gets first fire. Going after ground units. Got a hit. Now, the big German airplane comes in. Nope. And then the German infantry. Yep. And there goes the Russian fort up here in Murmansk. And there's nothing there, but it does open up this pathway. And now the other battle is here. And we'll turn the Russians. We hit something big. Now the Russians have first fire unless I can show something, and I don't have anything to show. So they get 2 shots of 3 at infantry. That looks like 2 hits because infantry only needs a 3 against ground units. I actually did those in the wrong order, but that's okay. And now we get to go again. And we get 2 more hits. And the Germans are not succeeding. If I stay here, I'm in danger. But if I withdraw, Warsaw's in danger. So I'm sticking around and taking my shot instead of withdrawing. And I miss, which means the Russians flip up in order to indicate that they still own the territory. Supply is still good, I believe. Yugoslavia is not unaligned. It's not opposed to us in any sense. We're not at war with the Allies anyway, which means we move to summer and try to figure out what cards we're going to play. Big cards for summer. J9 for the Russians, S9 for the Germans. The Germans get second move. Russia's got to worry. We know what we're facing here, even though we can't see it, supposedly. It's pretty potent. Whoa, why do we have 2 forts here in Leningrad? Wow. Because I cheated. Oops. Okay. So that means I don't have very much in terms of infantry that can oppose that. And this is ugly. God. I have a lot of movement, though. Let's push into Poland hard. 1. I don't know, how much am I getting? You know, would I be better hitting Romania? One, 2. 3. I slow them down by being here. 5. I can't move 3 from a border, can I? Yeah, I can. Okay. 4. I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm gonna force march this guy. Well, 7, 8, 9. You know, in case things go really terribly wrong. All right. I'm gonna back away from the die rolling. I think it's easier to do that without the camera. This is probably easier to do the movement too without, you know. It's kind of exciting what's happening here, but I don't really like playing everything out on camera. Russian attack down at Lvov was foolhardy. They got knocked down to 1 unit, and they're really getting weakened in the south, and the Germans have some mobile units they can push forward. The only problem is, we got Hungary here. It's a fort, but we're not sure of that. And we can't send a lot of units in over the mountains unless we combine the way we attack. We have 9. We don't have a whole lot of units to move. We don't have enough strength, I don't think, to go into Leningrad. We could violate the Baltic states, but it's not like we just can overrun them. They're stronger than they are in most games here. We got some extra infantry back here. So, 1, 2. 3, 4. To cover this. I can't do it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Protect Finland a little bit. And that's our card. Now we got some battles. Again up here in Vilna. And then in Archangel. Let's do Archangel first since I knocked it over. And I'll resolve these pretty quickly. Now I seriously considered intervening at this point, but we have so little. We have, you know, a 2-point and a 1-point unit. We could send naval support in as well. But only in here, and we have trouble getting there. Okay, not that much trouble because we can sail out to the North Sea and go in. It's not like there's any kind of danger, so we could send 1 ground unit in that way. But the problem is we kind of have to go through Munich, and we feel like there's some defense there. It's probably not, it's weaker than we think it is I think the case. In terms of attacks, otherwhere there's just not a lot of places where I'm seeing, you know, an opportunity for the Western Allies to come in, and it's not over yet. Both sides played, though, and the Russians played a spring card. It's fall. Spring isn't fall. That means they only get 2 points for that, and they go first, presumably with an A. The Germans played a fall 8. Which is going to be pretty potent. Now, for the Russians, we're going to defend Moscow, try not to lose it, you know. And we still have a unit helping block the way. For the Germans, and Russia's looking very, very weak here, to the point where the Western Allies almost have to launch an attack next year. For the Germans, 8 points, I'm not sure what I'm doing yet. I can't just go blasting out of here. You know, the movement rules don't allow you to leave someone else's territory like that. I kind of, you know, I feel like I have to protect Romania, right? And if the Russians had had a bigger card, they might have probed into there. Which means don't have motorized infantry. Woods means I could launch attacks from all of these into here. But Leningrad looks tough. I'm just worried I'm going to get cut off if I keep going south without taking Leningrad. Oh. I have a lot of movement points, not a lot I want to move, huh? Okay, well, the Brits aren't here. That's one important factor. All right. 1, 2, 3. And I don't know if I'm supposed to mark these as German control. Oh, they're not German controlled after I leave them. Yeah, that's kind of a problem. So I could still be in supply over the sea, but I wouldn't be any further in. So yeah, I kind of have to go to Leningrad. So that was 3. I can't jump out of here because there's nowhere I'm in control. So, 3 more. I got 2 more moves left. If I leave Romania, I kind of have to build a fort there. Romania is pretty important to me. But I might be able to just punch my way through Vilna. Otherwise, I'm not going to gain anything there. Or I can move some reinforcements into Finland. I can boost them next year from, cadre up to another level. All right, now we'll do the fights. So for the attack on Leningrad, fairly close run thing. We even hit a plane, it looks like. How'd that happen? That couldn't have happened. No, that's 4 dots. I have so much trouble seeing that. Now the plane's got a problem. It just finished a round and it's got no ground support there, so it has to actually withdraw. And we'll withdraw back up to our base here. And as you can see, the Russians held out, but they took some pretty hefty damage there. Now the Russians have the ability to play a card for winter. They can only play it inside Russia, which means, if I had 4 movement I really wanted to make, I could do so. But there isn't a lot of advantage to me moving units right now. We also held out here in Vilna as well. So, I guess it's going into a new year. That'll be 1941. And the Western Allies didn't have to be brought in. And it kind of doesn't look like the Germans are doing that well on their attack. So maybe we can stay out of the war, huh? I don't know. One of the problems is if we start looking like we're getting high enough on the victory chart, the Axis is going to be forced, the other players are going to be forced to say, wow, we can't let them run away with the victory. And then there's 2 questions that come with that, right? One of them is, can the Axis declare war on them on their own, or can they convince the Soviets to declare war as well? And then it's just this weird 3-sided war where everybody's fighting each other. In the latter case, whoever goes first and declares war may be left holding the bag and may find the enemy streaming in towards their capitals. Just a few things to keep in mind. It looks like it's time to load this one up, actually.